You've done everything you can. You've planned. You've prayed. You've held it all together with trembling hands and a brave face. But now, things are slipping. The timing, the answers, the people, they're no longer responding the way you hoped. And you feel it. The slow unraveling. The quiet chaos. The terrifying sense that no matter what you do, you're not in control anymore. And maybe that scares you. Because control has always been your safety. It made you feel strong. It helped you survive. It gave you the illusion that if you just tried hard enough, you could protect everything you love. But now, everything feels fragile. Everything feels uncertain. Everything feels like it's moving beyond your reach. And heaven leans in, not to mock your pain, but to whisper truth to your soul. Because what feels like unraveling is actually a sacred invitation to stop holding everything. To stop managing what was never yours to carry. To stop confusing peace with perfection. You were never meant to do it all. Never meant to have every answer. Never meant to hold the universe together with sheer willpower. That role belongs to God. And right now, in this holy breaking, He's not punishing you. He's rescuing you. Rescuing you from false strength. Rescuing you from spiritual exhaustion. Rescuing you from the burden of being your own savior. So don't run from this moment. Let go. And discover what you could never feel when your fists were clenched tight with fear, the presence of a God who never needed your control, only your trust. You were taught to fight. To hold on. To press forward no matter what. And somewhere along the way, you started believing that surrender meant failure. That letting go meant weakness. That to survive, you had to stay in control, at all costs. But that belief is what's breaking you now. Because you've reached the end of what your strength can carry. You've come to the edge of your ability to fix, to manage, to figure it all out. And here, at this breaking point, God meets you, not with shame, but with an invitation. Surrender is not giving up. It's giving over. It's placing the weight of what's too heavy into the hands of the one who's never dropped a single soul. You weren't made to carry the pressure of being perfect. You weren't built to sustain everyone else's expectations. You weren't created to live clenched, anxious, exhausted. You were made to trust. And trust doesn't begin when you have all the answers. It begins when you finally say. That is where the shift happens. Not when your situation changes, but when you do. When peace begins to rise, not from control, but from release. When your soul starts to exhale, because it realizes it was never meant to be the one in charge. And slowly, beautifully, your heart begins to heal. Not because everything makes sense, but because you finally stopped fighting the process. You finally said yes to the surrender that doesn't weaken you, it saves you. So let go. Not because you're defeated, but because you're being delivered. You've been so strong for so long, holding it together for everyone else. Showing up, staying composed, managing the chaos with a quiet ache inside. But here's the truth your soul has been waiting to hear. You were never meant to carry this alone. Not the pressure. Not the expectations. Not the fear that if you rest, everything will fall apart. Somewhere along the way, you confused responsibility with burden. You learned to smile while bleeding. You mastered how to function while your spirit whispered. But God never asked you to carry the whole world. He asked you to walk with Him. You're not the Savior. You're not the source. You're not the one holding all things together. That's His job. And right now, He's calling you to release what was never yours to bear, the outcomes, the timelines, the people you can't change, the future you can't predict. You're not weak because you need help. You're not less spiritual because you're tired. You're not broken because you feel like quitting. You're human. And being human was never a flaw, it was the space where divine strength meets real surrender. So pause. Breathe. Feel the weight you've been carrying, not just on your back, but in your chest. Then lift it, inch by inch, into the hands of a Father who says, not more to do. Not more to prove. Rest. Because you weren't designed to carry this alone. You were designed to walk with the one who carries you. There was a time when control made you feel safe. It gave you something to hold on to. Something predictable. Something that made the chaos of life feel manageable. But over time, what felt like safety became a cage. You started building walls around your heart, your plans, your emotions. You didn't mean to, you were just trying to protect what mattered. To avoid disappointment. To not feel powerless again. But now, even as you hold everything together, you can't breathe. Because control doesn't create peace, it only creates the illusion of it. And the more you tighten your grip, the more you lose touch with the gentle, flowing presence of God that doesn't live in clenched fists, but in open hands. Control whispers. But trust says, there is a freedom waiting for you, but it can't enter a life that's locked down. It can't live in the spaces where you demand perfection. It can't flow through the corners of your heart you've boarded up in fear. It can't thrive in a soul that's always bracing for impact. And God is not trying to take your control to punish you, He's asking for it to heal you. Because control didn't protect you. It isolated you. It kept you small. It robbed you of the wonder of not having to know everything in order to be safe. And now, heaven is opening the door of the cage. Not with force, but with invitation. You don't have to stay locked in the fear of what might happen. You can walk free. Free to trust. Free to rest. Free to breathe again without believing it all depends on you. Because what you thought would save you was only keeping you from the real Savior. And He's here now, not asking for your perfection. Only your permission to lead. You've searched everywhere for peace. In plans. In answers. In certainty. In people who made promises they couldn't keep. And still, your soul feels restless. Like no matter how much you organize, how much you prepare, how much you try to stay in control, there's a quiet ache that refuses to be silenced. That ache isn't weakness. It's your spirit saying, because true peace, deep, grounding, soul-level peace, doesn't come from knowing how everything will work out. It comes from knowing the one who holds it all. There's a kind of peace the world can't give. It's not born from answers. It's born from trust. Trust that even when the road curves, even when the sky is silent, even when your plans fall apart, you are not alone. Trust is the soil where peace grows. Not because life becomes perfect, but because your heart finally stops needing it to be. That's the shift. Not in your circumstances, but in you. When you trade anxiety for awareness, control for connection, and fear for the quiet confidence that says, that's where peace lives. It doesn't demand the full picture. It just needs one truth: God is with me. In this. Through this. Above this. And if He's here, then I can stop striving. I can stop bracing. I can stop trying to manage what only love can mend. This is the peace that trust gives, not escape from trouble, but presence in the middle of it. So breathe. Let go. And receive what control could never offer you, the peace that stays, even when nothing else does. You've been stuck in the same place, circling the same fears, holding on to things that once made you feel safe, but now just keep you heavy. And deep down, you know it, you can't carry this into what's next. The future you're praying for requires lighter hands, a freer heart, a deeper trust. But letting go feels like failure, like giving up, like losing something that once gave you meaning. So you cling to old dreams, to expired relationships, to identities that no longer fit but still feel familiar. But beloved, hear this clearly: letting go isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's not the end of the road. It's how the road opens again. Because the weight you're carrying isn't just slowing you down, it's blocking your breakthrough. And the only way forward is to release what you were never meant to keep. Let go of the version of you that had to be strong all the time. Let go of the fear that says if you stop holding it, everything will fall apart. Let go of the timelines that are strangling your joy. This isn't about quitting. It's about trusting. It's about surrendering your story to the one who knows how to finish what He started. It's about walking lighter, not because everything is resolved, but because your hands are finally free to receive what's coming. You don't have to drag the past behind you anymore. You don't have to keep proving your worth through exhaustion. You don't have to carry what broke you just to feel strong. Letting go doesn't mean you failed. It means you're finally ready to move forward. And heaven moves with you. You've been looking for signs. Something to prove it's going to be okay. Something to ease the fear that creeps in when nothing around you feels stable. You whisper it in the quiet. Because the future looks foggy. The ground under your feet doesn't feel solid. And every plan you made seems to be changing before your eyes. But listen to this truth, let it settle deep into your spirit: you are safe. Even when it's uncertain. Because safety doesn't come from control. It doesn't come from having all the answers. It doesn't come from predictable outcomes or perfect plans. It comes from presence. And the one who walks beside you now has never lost a battle, never abandoned a soul, never stopped being God, even in the unknown. The same presence that was with you in the clarity is with you in the chaos. The same arms that held you in victory are holding you in the valley. You are not drifting. You are being led. Even if you can't see the path, you can trust the guide. Because God doesn't need certainty to keep you safe, He needs trust. The uncertainty you're facing isn't a threat. It's a holy invitation. To lean. To listen. To let your faith grow deeper than your need for answers. So breathe. Not because everything is clear, but because He is near. You are not alone in this fog. You are surrounded. You are covered. You are held. And the same God who brought you this far will not let you fall now. You're safe. Not because of what you know, but because of who knows you. And that will always be enough. You've been waiting, watching the calendar, counting the days since you first believed, first hoped, first prayed. And still, it hasn't happened. The breakthrough, the healing, the open door. And your heart quietly asks, but no, beloved, he didn't forget. He's just not in a hurry. Because hurry is a human thing. It's rooted in fear, in scarcity, in pressure, in the lie that if it doesn't happen now, it may never happen at all. But heaven doesn't operate on fear. Heaven moves in timing, holy, strategic, perfect timing. And even when it feels slow, even when it looks like nothing is happening, God is always on time. Because he's not just working on your future, he's working on you. He's aligning the unseen. He's protecting you from premature steps. He's deepening your roots so you can carry the weight of what's coming. The delay you feel? It's not denial. It's design. It's the loving pause of a God who refuses to let your destiny arrive half-formed. A God who would rather wait with you in silence than watch you walk into something you're not ready to hold. So don't confuse his pace with his absence. He's not late. He's not indifferent. He's not ignoring you. He's preparing something you'll only understand once it arrives, something so aligned, so timely, so marked with his fingerprints, you'll look back and say, because he's never in a hurry, but he's always, always on time. Everything feels like it's collapsing. Plans unraveled. Relationships shifted. The life you tried so hard to build now lying in pieces at your feet. And all you can think is, but what if it's not? What if the fall apart you're in the middle of is not destruction? What if it's deliverance? Because sometimes things have to break before they can bless. Sometimes what you built in your own strength must fall, so that what's built in faith can rise. God doesn't cause all the breaking, but he never wastes it. He steps into the ruins, not to remind you of what you've lost, but to reveal what you're finally free to become. You see, what's falling apart might be clearing the ground. The pieces you're grieving might be the very things that could never hold the weight of your next season. And what you thought would end you might actually be saving you. Because the undoing is where he starts remaking. The fall apart is not a failure. It's a transition. It's a shaking away of everything that was false, forced, or fragile. And when the dust settles, when you finally stop trying to put back together what was never meant to stay, you'll see it. Not the wreckage, but the rebirth. A new clarity. A deeper peace. A stronger you, no longer performing, no longer striving, no longer holding things that were never yours. So let the old fall. Let the plans shift. Let the false version of you crumble to the ground. This is not the end. This is where your real life begins. Not built in fear, but rebuilt in freedom. You've built before. With grit. With vision. With sleepless nights and silent prayers. You've poured your soul into dreams, into people, into plans that once felt so certain, until they crumbled. And now, as you look at the scattered pieces of what didn't last, you're scared to start again. But this time, you're not building alone. This time, you won't strive to make it happen. You won't manipulate doors or stretch yourself thin to prove your worth. You won't chase affirmation in empty places. This time, it's different. Because this time, you'll build it with God. You'll move at His pace, not your pressure. You'll choose alignment over applause. You'll build from a rested heart, not a rushed soul. And what grows from that place will not collapse. Because it's not built on ego, on fear, on survival. It's built on faith. You're no longer building to be seen, you're building to be sent. You're no longer chasing outcomes, you're following presence. And that shift? It will change everything. Because when God is the architect, you don't have to hold every brick. You don't have to see every step. You just follow, and what rises will carry His breath. Not perfect, but powerful. Not flashy, but anointed. So don't fear the fresh start. Don't dread the blank slate. Don't mourn the old foundation that couldn't hold you. This is your new beginning. Not just to build something, but to become someone. This time, it won't be forced. It won't be fragile. It won't be fueled by fear. This time, you'll build it with God. You've been taught that control keeps you safe. That if you just plan enough, pray enough, protect enough, you won't get hurt again. You won't lose again. You won't break again. But the truth is, control never gave you freedom. It gave you pressure. It gave you exhaustion. It gave you the illusion of safety while stealing your peace. And now your soul is tired. Tired of clenching. Tired of calculating. Tired of fighting every unknown like it's your job to be God. But here, right now, heaven is whispering. Because the life you're craving, a life full of peace, clarity, purpose, doesn't begin when you figure everything out. It begins when you stop trying to. Your freedom begins where your control ends. Not when you abandon wisdom. Not when you stop caring. But when you finally trust the one who sees the whole picture, not just the part you're standing in. God doesn't need your control to fulfill His promise. He needs your surrender. He needs the space your fear has been filling. The space your striving has been blocking. The space where control once reigned and trust was a stranger. He wants to meet you there. Not to scold you, but to free you. To remind you that your job was never to be invincible. It was to be available. Available for grace. Available for guidance. Available for the kind of peace that can't coexist with panic. So here's the invitation, release your grip. Open your hands. Let the control fall away. And watch what rushes in to take its place, peace. Presence. Freedom. Because the end of control is the beginning of the life you were always meant to live. You didn't choose this storm. It came without warning. It shook everything. And you've been trying to hold steady, to stay anchored while the winds scream lies and the waves rise high. Some days, it feels like too much. Like this storm might swallow you whole. Like you'll never feel calm again. But hear me, child of God, this storm will pass. And you will rise. Because storms don't last forever. They come to stir the deep. To awaken what's hidden. To test what's true. And yes, it's loud. Yes, it's violent. Yes, It's pushing against everything you thought was secure. But the storm doesn't scare the one who walks on water. It doesn't move the God who speaks, and winds obey. It doesn't silence the whisper that still says, "You are not alone in this." Heaven is not watching from a distance. Jesus is in the boat with you. Not promising that storms won't come, but promising that you won't drown in them. You may feel soaked. You may feel stretched. You may feel like all you can do is survive another day. But survival is sacred. And even in this, you are being carried. Carried by grace. Carried by prayers you forgot you prayed. Carried by a presence that doesn't need the storm to stop to be powerful. And soon, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon, the clouds will break. The waves will calm. And your soul will stand again. Not the same. Stronger. Wiser. Deeper. You will rise. Not because you made it through untouched, but because you made it through undone and rebuilt in glory. This storm will pass. And when it does, you will not just survive it. You will be transformed by it. You thought losing control was the end. That if everything unraveled, you would unravel with it. That if the plans failed, so would you. That if the storm didn't stop, neither would your suffering. But now you see it. Now your spirit knows, the breaking was not your burial. It was your becoming. Because what you thought would crush you, cleansed you. What you thought would end you, emptied you for something greater. And now, in the stillness after the storm, in the silence after the striving, you finally hear the voice that never left you. The pressure is lifting. The weight is dissolving. Not because the circumstances have all changed, but because you have. You stopped reaching for control and started reaching for God. You stopped clinging to outcomes and started clinging to presence. You stopped worshiping certainty and started walking in trust. And that's the shift. That's the miracle. Not that life became easier, but that you became rooted. Unmoved. Held. Now your hands are open. Your heart is soft. Your faith is deeper than your fear. You no longer need to pretend you're unshaken, because now you know it's grace that holds you, not your grip. And heaven is smiling. Not because you performed, but because you surrendered. So as you step forward, not with all the answers but with peace in your bones, know this: you are not behind. You are not broken. You are not too late. You are exactly where God knew you would be when He whispered the first promise into your spirit. He still plans to finish what He started. And from here, there is only rising, one step at a time, in faith, in peace, in freedom. Because when control ends, resurrection begins.